Good evening, everybody. It's Wednesday night, 7 o'clock. You know what that means. It's time for the 76 Capital Leadership Series. Really excited for all of you to join us tonight. We've got a great show ahead of us. We have Dave Maryles. Dave is a partner at Rubicon Talent. They are a sports marketing firm. They work with professional athletes, Olympic athletes, and sports broadcasters. And you're going to love hearing his story. He went to Penn State. He worked in the industry. He's now a partner with three other guys that you'll hear about at Rubicon, and just really exciting to hear the types of athletes that he's worked with and all the things that he does within the sports world and how he takes care of these athletes, how he makes their lives easier and does incredible things with and for them. So we'll get into that in a second, but as you all know, we always start off our 76 Capital Leadership Series with the news. So tonight, as we get into the news, one of the things, as I see some more people have just joined, this is Wayne Kimmel from 76 Capital. We are live on the 76 Capital Leadership Series. We are live on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, as well as YouTube. And 76 Capital is a venture capital fund that invests in startup entrepreneurs that are doing incredible things in the sports industry. Sports tech companies we love getting involved with, eSports companies and sports betting companies. We look for entrepreneurs that are passionate, that are smart, that are nice, and that are trying to do really big things within the sports industry. And that's what it's all about. And those are the types of people and kinds of companies that we get involved with at 76 Capital. And why do we do this series? Why do we do our leadership series? Because we have an opportunity to share with you and share all these amazing stories from these incredible leaders within the sports industry. And they are relationships of ours, friends of ours, many times business partners of ours. And we want to share their incredible stories with all of you. So we're going to do that tonight, as I said, with Dave. But first, we're going to go with the news. So with our 76 Capital News tonight, our first story is about the fact that the WNBA is live. They are back. Sports are back, as we said. The WNBA is having a reduced schedule. They're going to be playing in this bubble situation at IMG Academy down in Florida, in Bradenton, Florida, to be specific. It'll be, instead of their normal 34-game slate, it'll be a 22-game slate before a normal playoff format. That is really exciting, and exciting that the WNBA is back. Our second story of the night is all about this incredible partnership. Think about this. The Denver Broncos partnered with a sports book, and not just any sports book. They partnered with FanDuel. And as we've talked about in the past on 76 Capital's Leadership Series, Colorado is one of the new states that has just legalized sports betting. And this partnership between an NFL team, which was one of the organizations that basically was against sports betting for so many years, has now allowed one of their teams to partner with FanDuel, one of the leading sports books out there today. This is a big deal. This is pretty exciting. And keep your eye on all the things that are going to be happening, because I think there are going to be more of these types of partnerships happening in the fall. So tomorrow on our 76 Capital Startup Showcase, it's our eSports edition. We're going to have a number of companies presenting what they're doing in the esports industry. We'll have the Collegiate Star League present tomorrow. We'll have Nerd Street Gamers. We'll have Juked. We'll have GGWP Academy. And we are going to have some really interesting conversations. And I will be doing this show tomorrow with Paige Funk, who is one of the executives at Nerd Street Gamers. She'll also be involved with the stream. We'll have an hour-long stream. It'll be tomorrow, June 18th at 3 p.m. Tune in live on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Twitter, and on YouTube to check this out. It should be a great afternoon talking everything all about esports and gaming. And, finally tonight, as we've always talked about, we've had some great guests. We've had all sorts of leaders all across the sports industry. You can watch these shows. Go to our YouTube channel, our 76 Capital YouTube channel, to see all of those shows. But as we know, we do go live just like this on every Sunday and every Wednesday on all of those different networks. So our news today has actually been brought to you by Play-by-Play Sports Broadcasting Camps. Play-by-Play Sports Broadcasting Camps is a broadcasting camp that is actually going virtual for the first time ever this year. We are a broadcasting camp for 10 to 18-year-olds. You can learn more about this and what they do at playbuyplaycamps.com. Yes, your son or daughter can learn to be a top broadcaster. We're going to talk about some of the best broadcasters in the game today with Dave, our guest, on our 76 Capital Leadership Series. And your son or daughter could actually be one of those by going to our 76, through one of our 76 Capital portfolio companies, Play-by-Play Sports Broadcasting Camp. So go to playbuyplaycamps.com for all of the details. And at this time, we're going to move on to our special guest tonight. Our special guest is Dave Maryles. Here he is. Dave, welcome to our show. And
thanks for having me, Wayne.
Really excited to have you.
Great to be here.
I think it's one of these things where, we talk about, we get involved with so many people within the sports world, but one of our strategic partners at 76 Capital is Rubicon Talent, your company, and you're one of the partners there, and just really excited to have you on the show tonight.
Well, it's great to be on. I'm glad you're doing this. You got some great momentum, and hopefully we can add to that and have some good chatter tonight.
Well, I shared with you and with our audience that you're a sports agent. You work with some of the top professional athletes in all of the world, you and your partners at Rubicon Talent. But before we get into all of that, I'd love to hear a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, where you went to college, just a little bit of background to hear a little bit more about who is Dave.
Sure, and I'll let you know this is a little unorthodox for me. I'm usually behind the scenes, and it's usually my clients being the subject of the interview. But I'm happy to dive in. Should probably do more of it. And I grew up on Long Island on the North Shore. I went to John Glenn High School in East Northport, and then went to Penn State undergrad. And after Penn State and studying abroad and traveling the world a little bit, I went to New York. Worked at a law firm, frankly, in the trust and estates department as a legal assistant, and realized that I did not want to be a lawyer. Great experience for me, living in New York, working at a great, high-powered law firm as a legal assistant, just deer in the headlights, and had an opportunity, got an internship to work really at an agency that was just starting up within its first year, and it was really more of a step back to take two steps forward, as I always like to say. It was going from a paid job, working at a law firm, to getting in the industry, just being an intern, and frankly, working for free. So that was my foot in the door. And once I had the foot in the door, it was just a matter of how fast and hard I could kind of run up the stairs.
Amazing. And I just think it's interesting. I mean, you had this opportunity to, start working with professional athletes, and I see on the screen right now, I think this is one of your current clients, right?
It's a DeMarco Murray Bose shoot, actually, that we did in Dallas when he was probably 2014 or 15.
Interesting. So, you get to work with those types of athletes, but when you were first starting out,
yeah,
what was it like? I mean, share with us a little bit. What was it like to, have get your first client?
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think it's important to kind of grow on all sides of the business, and by no means have I finished growing. We've always been on the representation side of marketing and broadcasting or coaching or Olympians, and it's always been off the field partnerships, whether it's business ventures, endorsements, and so on and so forth. So you can kind of grow two different ways. You can sell the company's existing assets and try to find deals for the players. And that was a big part of my growth early on, just scrapping around, trying to find deals and learning how to sell and learning how to cultivate the Rolodex within sports. And then it was also cultivating relationships on the talent side, figuring out ways to get in touch with players. My first kind of signing was Bruce Smith, who was on his way into the Hall of Fame. It was 2006-ish, 2007, and he needed someone to help him with that. And we jumped on that and had some early success. And my first active NFL player was DeMarco Murray. And I don't want to say I got lucky, but his career worked out. He went to the Cowboys as a third rounder and really took off. So sometimes it's got to be position yourself for some success, and sometimes it's just keep your head down, keep working, and the good things will happen. I think it's important to know that, you know, I didn't even start on the NFL side. Actually, my opportunity for my career was within golf, and I started working within golf, which was a sport I don't want to say was foreign to me, but I wasn't a golfer. I didn't grow up playing a lot of golf. I played, but I wasn't a golfer. I recruited, learned how to recruit, learned how to sell on the PGA Tour, on the Nationwide Tour at the time. That's what it was called. And that helped me, and I recruited and signed guys. And that kind of gave me the confidence to go more to an area where I was probably more comfortable and more fit for, which was recruiting NFL players and then eventually broadcasters within golf, and like Dan Hicks and so on and so forth.
Well, once again, this is Wayne Kimmel on the 76 Capital Leadership Series. We have Dave Maryles, who is one of the partners at Rubicon Talent, and he's sharing with us his story of becoming an agent, working in the sports industry. And, you know, you were talking about sort of recruiting players and what that was like. You know, let's go back to you said your first client was DeMarco Murray.
Yeah.
When did you first meet DeMarco, and where was he playing, and how did that happen?
Well, you know, the rules are forever changing. They kind of change with new CBAs. They're changing now as each state starts to change laws that NCAA athletes will, you know, or amateur athletes will be able to earn. But to go back to 2010, and this is an image right here of two of my longtime clients, DeMarco and Emmanuel, at a photo shoot, I believe. You know, with DeMarco was a highly touted running back coming out of a big time school. It's not always you know, I'm not an expert recruiter. No one is, right? There's some people who obviously have more success at it than others, but I can tell you that it's all relationships, and you either start a relationship with the kid and figure out a way to cultivate the relationship with the kid in a professional manner, or you start with the family, because typically a 19-year-old, 20-year-old, 21-year-old, depending on the sport, whether it's golf or gymnastics or NFL, you're not going to have, it should be a family affair. So you cultivate a relationship with the player, but you also start with the family. So I reached out to DeMarco's dad, Kevin Murray, and cultivated a relationship with him. And, you know, you have all those phone conversations, you send over your materials, which is not uncommon. And it's usually every family trims it down to the final 3 or 4, and then you have your final meetings. You go to the bowl games, and went to DeMarco's bowl game, Fiesta Bowl, and shortly after, you know, met him and signed him. So we were fortunate that he chose us. It's a very competitive landscape, but he's still a client, and as you know, a investor in 76 Capital.
Yeah, we'll definitely get into that. We'll definitely get in, and he's also, you know, it's really interesting. He's also now a coach, right? So you've taken him through his whole career.
Yeah, DeMarco's he's been a great client. You know, I would say we look for a specific kind of player and person, and not necessarily in that order, but really someone that gets it up here and wants to apply themselves. And I think DeMarco was someone that, even though it isn't necessarily, he isn't the most outward facing guy that is announcing everything he does on his Instagram and streaming live, he knew that he had the ability to take advantage of what the platform of being a skilled position in the NFL offers, and being a running back, and then being a cowboy on top of that. So he decided to split his contract and his marketing. He hired the best in each, and Bill Johnson, his contract agent, he hired us as his marketing. And that was his team, along with his finance, his whole career. And DeMarco had some on-field success. He played, he earned his money, and he was smart. He was 30 years old. In his mind, he wanted to, you know, be able to walk around with his kids when they were older. And he was starting to feel the effects of the game, and didn't want to play for, you know, less than a certain amount of money. So he walked away healthy, young, 7 years in the league, earned a good chunk of change. And 3 weeks later, he was in position with Fox to broadcast college football games, which I don't want to say is unheard of, but he prepared himself well and put himself in position to get a job working for Fox doing games, and having that job 3 to 4 weeks after you retire unexpectedly in July, is a testimony to the work that he and we put into TV. He enjoyed that 1 year stint, but I really think he had and has an itch to scratch, and he loves coaching. So he did a year with Kevin Sumlin in Arizona, and as soon as the opportunity presented itself, he obviously ran back, no pun intended, to OU, and is now the running back coach at Oklahoma. And I think he really feels at home. He loves Norman, and they love him. And Lincoln Riley is obviously a ultra talented guy, so he can really learn and maybe be the offensive coordinator or head coach there. So we've been with him every step of the way. He obviously didn't need me to open the door at OU, but we kind of help along the way whenever he needs it.
So, I think, and going a little bit deeper with DeMarco, right? So What are some of the other things that you were there for him? You helped open doors. You did all these things as an agent, but what about from the marketing side of the game?
I think it's important to plant your seeds throughout your career, and DeMarco bought into that, and he probably would bust my chops saying that I would always say that, and that the people you meet now, even as a rookie, a second year, third year, fourth year, fifth year, sixth year, seventh year guy, and I still say that to an Emmanuel Sanders who's going into his 11th year, they could be someone you work with post-career, and you don't know when your career will be over. So he planted a lot of seeds. When he did his media when he did paid branded media tours and we did the car wash at ESPN, it took 15 minutes extra to go down the hall and meet with the executives. So he bought into that. DeMarco also had, he's passionate about things that he wants to be in business on things that he's passionate about, like everyone else. So health, he's very health conscious. So we were able to get him in with Chopped, which is a health food salad, creative salad company, which he's ultra passionate about. They happen to be starting in Nashville, and he was able to get involved with that. Obviously, we introduced him to you guys. He quickly jumped in and thought it was a great opportunity to plant several seeds with a lot of different companies within the 76 Capital Fund. He's been involved in multiple other investments, e-commerce company called Fanprint, which is essentially they make T-shirts and soft goods, fanwear, and they have a great technology. So he has 5 or 6 different companies within his portfolio, some private, some public, that he retains and puts time into, and hopes that they can cultivate into companies similar to the ones that 76 Capital is involved in.
I appreciate you making that introduction. He's just such a good person, and as we spend a lot of time with in Las Vegas where he grew up, he's the man. There's no doubt when you walk around that town.
Yeah, growing up in Vegas, I think he got it a lot. Wait, did you really grow up in Vegas? Like, people think you grew up in the Strip. You don't even go to the Strip until you go to college and come back, and people are like, let's go to the Strip. But yeah, his dad was in law enforcement and self-employed after 20 years of law enforcement, and really hardworking man. And he has 6 brothers and sisters. He's the baby, and he's taking care of everyone he can, including his own family. And he's young and healthy and heading in the right direction. So look, every client's different. We don't have a template. What we try to do is learn from each client who they are, and what we've done for DeMarco could be different than what we do for Greg Olson or George Kittle or Emmanuel Sanders or Eric Ebron.
I see him over your shoulder. Let's get into that a little bit. So right before we jump into this next section, we'll really sort of talk about you and your partners at Rubicon. And this section of our 76 Capital Leadership Series is brought to you by Nerd Street Gamers, and their local host camps. So if you have a son or daughter, which you do, but they're a little young, they need to be 10 to 18, Dave. But if you're between the ages of 10 and 18, they can attend one of our eSports camps. Yes, you can actually go to nerdstreetgamers.com and your kid could go to camp this summer virtually and play games like Fortnite and Overwatch and more. So if you want to learn more about having your kid become a super eSports or video game player, go to nerdstreetgamers.com and you can learn more about our camps. I mean, one great point of all that is it's amazing. One of the things, Dave, and you and I talk about a lot within the world of esports is how much the athletes love it.
Love it.
So what's incredible is there are over 200 colleges and universities out there that offer scholarships to kids. So if you're good enough in video games, you could actually get a scholarship to college, just like being someone who's like the guy over your shoulder, Eric Ebron, and go play football in college. Pretty incredible.
The funny thing is, Ebron's a huge gamer, and I think one, a lot of these guys grow up playing video games like any other kid, but two, you forget that football players or any athlete in college don't always have that. And don't get me wrong, it's just not that typical college experience where Friday night you're always going out. You might have a game on Saturday, right? So you're not going out at all. You may miss out on things. So there is a culture of a lot of these players playing in their hotel rooms on the road. And games are now obviously incredibly entertaining that you can watch them even if you're not playing. So I would say of the 15 plus active NFL players we represent, more than half of them are playing, maybe 65%, 60, 70% are playing and streaming on a variety of platforms. We have some that are more intense than others. You mentioned Nerd Street. Emmanuel Sanders, obviously, an investor and spokesperson and partner in Nerd Street. He's playing all the time, and he can. I think a lot of players think it's a way for them to stay competitive but get away from their main sport, which so it's a nice balance, and obviously something you can do anywhere as long as you have connectivity. But
yeah, no, I think it's great. So I think one of the things that I'd love to jump into is when you to tell the story of you starting Rubicon Talent with your partners, and so really kind of talk about how that all came about.
Sure. We mentioned I had started at an agency that was small and had 4 owners, and it grew for 13 years. It became another company, and it was a great run. I learned a lot, and the 4 guys I worked for, I'm forever indebted to in a sense that they brought me under their wing and taught me, and then we all hit the ground running together. We were able to, at the right time, we left, and we all actually kind of left at similar times, and were able to start Rubicon several months after the fact. And we had several clients that chose to come with us, and we started over in 2017, mid-February, and it's we hit the ground running. We keep the foot on the gas the entire time. It's a work hard, play hard mentality, so to speak. But we try to surround ourselves with, good people. It starts with the clients, and it also starts with the people within the company. I think, becoming a business owner, you care a lot more about the HR and human resources element. So I've learned a lot about that. But, our industry of representing talent, whether you're on the contract agent side or marketing, or frankly on the financial side, it lends itself to being entrepreneurial. It's not uncommon for talent reps to leave at a certain point and go start their own group. Usually the client has an opportunity to kind of choose, what happens, and you figure out an amicable resolution. And we started.
You guys, so it was you, Peter, John, and Brandon. Why don't you talk a little bit about that? Like, what?
Sure. So we were all
everyone had different skill sets and different parts of the industry, right?
We had all previously worked together for a while, and over a course of a period of time, we had all left that agency as it was going through some change, and it no longer exists. But we were able to retain our own clients and bring them essentially. Let them know where we would be, and they kind of came along. We hit the ground running with those clients, and we signed several new ones. And from Cole Beasley to George Kittle to Christian Coleman, we've probably added a dozen clients since, and we've added a lot of corporate clients and started some new divisions as well. So we all have different skill sets. I work a little bit more in football with Peter Raskin. You have John Salant, who has a deep background in football and basketball, and also handles our finances, and Brandon Swabel, who focuses more on Olympics but has extensive experience in a variety of others. So we all work collaboratively together, and we also have our areas of expertise where we feel certain people are deeper, and that's try to how we balance it in the same way with the way we hire and bring in new talent as far as employees.
Yeah, it's really impressive the way you handle the business, as well as how you and your team are viewed in the community. I mean, I think it's something that when we talk to people within the sports agency industry and in the world, you and your team are very well respected, and it's amazing working with you and doing all the things that we do. So what has it been like? So let's, before we get into what it's been like, kind of working with you and on the 76 Capital side and what we've been able to do. How has the business itself? You've grown the business. It's gone from just being on the sports marketing side of things, but you've also now created a live division and a partnership division.
Sure.
Talk about how that growth has happened.
Yeah, that's a good question. As I mentioned, we've always been on the talent side, representing the talent, and with that, we're doing the brand deals. So from Verizon to Visa and everything in between, and Nerd Street and all these other companies we work with. Our Rolodex, our sweet spot, are not the general managers at the NFL teams. It's the vice presidents of marketing at the brands, or at different organizations, or frankly at different agencies that are spending on behalf of the brands. So the point of starting, of knowing your relationships, I feel, is an advantage to us. And we know that our relationships are not just working with talent. A lot of the relationships, the same person that you go and do the George Kittle Bud Light deal is probably the same person that's also doing the Bud Light deal for all 32 NFL teams, right? So having those existing relationships, typically at a very high level with the athletes, has opened doors for us to start new divisions. And we have a partner, Andrew Zinberg, who came on, and we've started essentially a property sales and business representing the New York Red Bulls, USA Gymnastics, a variety of other properties, and helping them traditionally with their sponsorship sales, having nothing to do with talent, just being a sales arm for that. We're able to open doors with our relationships with talent and really create some cross-pollination with the sales groups at those different organizations. And that's in a variety of different verticals. So helping different companies with their revenue generation is one. The other is Hillary Dresner, who runs Rubicon Live. And Hillary's been a long-time media and large-scale event and experiential producer. And she has worked for Time Inc. and cultivated Sports Illustrated swimsuit and Time Magazine, which left Time Inc. years ago, and has those two clients, as well as some massive Super Bowl parties that she works on. So she's got a great business that she runs, and is actually had to pivot quite a bit in the last 3 months. And she's doing that. We're doing that, and with her quite well. So everyone's had to change, and our athletes are involved in these events. I've had DeMarco Murray and Emmanuel Sanders, some of our clients, or Eric Ebron, in a lot of the Sports Illustrated events. So we're part of the events. Athletes are often part of the events. You get to learn people who run these events and figure out other economic kind of engines and revenue streams. So with these events, not only are we hired to produce them and consult and procure, but there could be talent opportunities, and there's also sales opportunities within the event. So it's just trying to build other revenue streams within our existing sphere of relationships.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's amazing what you've been able to do. I mean, in such a short amount of time, how you've grown the business, and then you have some amazing partnerships, right? So, I mean, I think one of the things that would be great to share with our audience today is your partnerships, and first starting with the Montag Group and what it's been like working with the legendary Sandy Montag.
Yeah, sure. Look, when we started Rubicon, we wanted to have a differentiator, and we feel we have that. We also wanted to be able to grow with our clients every step of the way. And a lot of players that are more on the retired side or even towards the end of their career will tell you, hey, I wish I would have hired a specific marketing rep early on, or someone to really manage instead of having their agent do that, where their core agent functionality is typically to handle their contract and on-field stuff. And as the business off the field has grown, being specialized is that much more important. We noticed that our clients, like the ones we've mentioned, were constantly getting different opportunities to come their way that needed to be vetted. So when we started Rubicon, we wanted to, be able to grow with our clients. And we were doing a lot of broadcast deals. There's 2 clients right there, Mark Ingram and Eric Ebron at NFL House at this past Super Bowl in Miami. So we wanted to be able to grow with them. Part of that is a lot of our clients have post-career ambition in getting into broadcasting. It's a very competitive landscape. Some of the big Hollywood agencies are probably some of the leaders, along with Sandy Montag and the Montag Group, who do a great job. And some of it, we wanted to have a partnership in place that we knew that as our clients like DeMarco or Greg Olson or Emmanuel Sanders who want to get into broadcasting, they have best-in-class representation. So we have that partnership, and it's great. We also work with their clients and handle a lot of the sales and marketing and brand development for their clients and sourcing deals. So it's a nice symbiotic partnership. Other image you have up here was Nicole Hardman, who's a new client who just won the Super Bowl with the Kansas City Chiefs. So that was one thing that we wanted to have. We wanted to be able to grow with them. And while we have several clients that we've done broadcasting. We've done lots of broadcasting deals over our career. We also know that the Montag Group is doing it at a very high level, and they have over 100, maybe 150 broadcast clients, including from Scott Van Pelt to Mike Tirico, and very high, doing it at a very high level. So it's been a great partnership, and it's they're a good group to work with. It's similar to our partnership with you guys. We felt. I don't know if this is your next question, but I'll get right into it. Our partnership with you guys was strategy, and it was a point of difference for us. And when not just a lot of our clients would come to us and say, "Hey, so and so has this investment opportunity." As you know, Wayne, we needed a way to professionally vet out these opportunities. And we are looked at as not just brand builders, but also revenue generators for our clients. And oftentimes contract agents want to stay away from anything venture because there is risk. We all know that there's some risk. And a lot of the contract agents, it's smart for them to just kind of stay out of that and work on what they work on, do what they do best, and not focus on that. We would often get it because marketing and there's a little more creative elements. We could look at it from a certain angle, but we don't do what you guys do, right? So we felt that there was a gap in the industry, and the big agencies aren't going to look at it. The big banks that represent a lot of these players for their finances don't want to look at it, or they're not allowed to. So for us, having you guys to not only vet out opportunities, but also open your Rolodex to us and create that cross-pollination that everyone wants, that relationship that 1 + 1 = 3, so to speak. That's what we're looking for. And that's, I think, what we get out of our partnership with you guys and learning more about your portfolio companies. Look, sometimes you guys introduce us to companies that you don't invest in. Sometimes it's companies that you do invest in. Sometimes our clients will invest with you guys. There's a lot of different things that can happen, as you know. So it's we're really pleased with the way we set up the structure. And frankly, a lot of the venture is not for the guys coming out of college or a 17-year-old golfer that may turn pro early. It's usually for someone that's a little bit more mature and understands it the way we talked about earlier.
So in our partnership, and I think it's really been great to see, how we've been worked together with you and Pete and John and Brandon and just the whole team. I mean, it's been great watching the team grow, and also sort of see what has happened with how we've worked with some of the talent that you represent. So you've mentioned Emmanuel Sanders,
yeah.
Nerd Street Gamers. Emmanuel's a big gamer, and he was able to develop this relationship because we kind of put it together where you had Emmanuel and I had, the CEO of Nerd Street Gamers, John Fazio, and the two of them have really hit it off. They're both gamers.
Now they don't even need us anymore.
He tells me all the time, he just plays,
Look, they bonded over video games, Apex Legends and playing video games, and it's a great relationship. It's definitely one of his all-time favorite relationships that he has, and it's one of those deals that you do that it doesn't feel like a deal, it doesn't feel forced, and it's for him. One, not only is he invested in the long term, but he enjoys it day to day. So when I tell him, hey, we're going to do something with Nerd Street, he's ready to go. But it's also like, hey, what's the next thing we can do with them, right? So he's playing these games. He's involved. He's bonding with his son, his teammates, the Nerd Street team. And frankly, when he got hurt with the Achilles, he had just signed the Nerd Street deal, and he was able to stream, and send a video out through Nerd Street, 3 days after. So it was a pretty cool way to kick off the partnership, and if anyone's following Nerd Street, they're kicking butt. So it's been really cool to watch your companies grow, as well.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun to watch that, and also you guys, as we're saying, you're growing, and this was during the NFL draft this year. You have a new client.
We do.
Want to talk about?
Yeah, sure. So very fortunate that he's been around success quite a bit, and going to be around more success, being that he's going from LSU, the national champs, to Kansas City Chiefs, the Super Bowl champs. But Clyde's a great kid. He's got a great work ethic and mentality. It's unfortunate that with the pandemic, we really haven't been able to spend a ton of time with him since he started. Since he kind of signed up along as a Rubicon client. But, when you sign a rookie, a lot of it's getting them assimilated. And the first couple of months, it's all about combine prep and getting drafted. And there's some things you can do pre-draft, and there's some things you can. And as things slowly kind of open up, there'll be more opportunity. This will be a tough off season for just about everyone. But Clyde, we're very excited about his opportunity. He's a big time threat on the field, and off the field, he has a lot of capabilities as well. He's a really talented guy with a lot of really interesting hobbies, some that I've never even heard of or experienced, like frogging. So,
well, we'll learn about it, I'm sure. And then you also brought on this guy, another champ.
These are two new signings this offseason that we're very proud about. McCole is a guy out of Georgia, 1 year in the league. Obviously had some early success making a Pro Bowl on the Chiefs and winning a Super Bowl. And I think, he's a guy that you mature a lot your first year in any professional sport. And I think he probably realized that he wanted to build more of a team. And we were fortunate to link up with him pre-Super Bowl. And right after the Super Bowl, we signed him, and we've hit the ground running as hard as we can.
And once again, we're live here on Wednesday night. We're live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and on YouTube for our 76 Capital Leadership Series. We have, sports agent and great guy, Dave Maryles, who's sharing with us, sort of the ins and outs of what it really means to be a sports agent. And one of the things that I'd love to touch on is, we talked a little bit earlier about DeMarco Murray. He played for 3 different, NFL teams. And now you have, the guy over your shoulder, Eric Ebron, who, has also now, he's now on his third team as well. And he's with the Steelers. This is going to be the Steelers this year. What's that been like, for him, and what's the relationship that you have with him when he hears that he's going from one city to the other?
Yeah.
How do you deal with that?
I don't think it's ever easy. I think a lot of NFL players and NBA and any sport, frankly, know that it's part of the gig, but it doesn't necessarily make it easy. These guys work really, really hard. They put their heart and soul into these games and through leading up to the games. And that's what a lot of people don't see. So anytime there's so much passion and emotion, there's always going to be some passion and emotion when there's a big decision, right? So Ebron, top 10 pick, Huge personality, lots of potential on and off the field. He'd be the first person to tell you that maybe he didn't live up to the potential that he felt he had in Detroit. I think he had some glimpses of it, but he also struggled and showed some signs, but it didn't work out. He really found himself in Indy. Had a record-breaking type of year with Andrew Luck at the quarterback position, and that changed quickly, as everyone knew. Last year, everyone knows, last year that was taken from him. And he had a solid year with Jacoby, but he was playing with a lot of injuries, and I think he knew that he was done with the Colts and wanted to test free agency. Now he's out in Pittsburgh with a great organization, and he gets another start with a franchise that really knows how to win and operate first class. So it's a great opportunity for him. He's got 2 beautiful young kids and a wife that he loves dearly, and he's spending a lot of time with them home and playing golf and stuff right now. And all my guys are just training and enjoying their time with their family and waiting for the call when they can go back to the facility and start training. But for us on the business side, now we're pitching him in Pittsburgh. We're continuing to pitch him into all the NFL sponsors and of course, other brands that he is authentic to. So Ebron's a great guy, and we're excited for him to be on the Steelers.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you have another one of your athletes is also on the Steelers as well, right? Yeah,
Penny Snell, the running back. Exactly. So we've the off season's always interesting. This has been even more interesting for all the obvious reasons, but it's we haven't stopped working. We just had to reinvent the wheel a little bit more and audible to virtual signings and all kinds of things like we're doing right now. And one of our clients is Emmanuel Sanders, who has a technology called FanGauge, which is a pretty cool company that is a digital autograph experience that basically we could be on a video platform like this. If I opened up my iPad, I have my iPad right here, I can sign autographs on the iPad and send it back to you in real time, and I can autograph any photo that you want to send me. So it's a really cool technology. We're starting to work with them and help them open some doors with brands and teams, and the virtual events for our chefs and for our other clients, our athlete clients and on-air talent has really taken off as well. The virtual brands are adjusting and starting to audible, so to speak.
Yeah, it's really interesting what Emmanuel's been doing. I mean, FanGauge is a great thing that he's been working with, and you see it sort of all over the internet. I mean, so just going back to sort of a question really for you and as an agent, right? So when your players leave one city and go to another city, yeah, how does that work? I mean, does it open up new opportunities for you? Does it? How does that play out? I mean, you have Mark Ingram, went to a different place this year. Ebron went somewhere else. Emmanuel Sanders is now down in New Orleans. Yep. You got a lot of movement. What is that like?
It's inevitable. You can never get too attached. I went from having DeMarco Murray as best player in the league, running back, breaking all these records with the Cowboys, and he's gone the next year. So sometimes it's you put in, or Emmanuel Sanders, who won a Super Bowl, was there for 5 or 6 years, and then there's a lot of equity that they have in the town, especially if you're a guy like Emmanuel, who his charity is very that's actually his charity event, ES10 Foundation. So if you really are ingrained in the community, it's tough. Again, a part of the business, but you keep those old relationships. Obviously, we're not marketing him in Denver as much anymore, and then you build new ones. He had a really interesting year coming off an Achilles 2 months earlier than usually any doctor would ever tell you to. And then he played 17 straight games and then went to the Super Bowl. He didn't have a bye week, and he's maintained his health. He has incredible work ethic. But Emmanuel has been on 3 different teams in the last year. Now we're starting to, recultivate those relationships we had from the Reggie Bush years when he was in New Orleans, or Mark Ingram years when he was in New Orleans. So you have a built-in relationships with a lot of the team sponsors. And then, of course, you have the national sponsors for the bigger name players that can get those deals. And then you have, this is an Emmanuel Sanders deal that we had probably one of the best deals we've ever done. Emmanuel's still friends with the CEO of Ortho Colorado, a great guy named Jude Torchia, who's, believe it or not, a Steelers fan living in Denver. So they had so much to connect over that we ended up going out on a golf trip. I think this was for rescue workers. So, Emmanuel's the guy that really gets ingrained into the community, similar to a Greg Olson or a George Kittle, and he has a great time doing it. So I think it really comes easily to him, and he's able to kind of benefit from enjoying it, so to speak.
Well, this is such an interesting, one of my favorite, 76 Capital Leadership Series. Love to hear about all the things that you're doing, Dave.
I'll talk forever. It's fine.
No, but it's awesome. It's awesome to hear. I mean, and one of the things we haven't touched on yet, you mentioned George Kittle, who's a big fan of the WWE, a big wrestling guy, right? But now, you are also working with the WWE and helping them. Which is, I think, is a really exciting development.
That's great. You're becoming quite the host, Wayne. It's really interesting that the way that worked out, and we've had George Kittle for well over a year, and we just started working with the WWE in March. But George is a really interesting guy. He's never had a bad day in his life, and the cliches about him are all true. He's just a great guy and has a really, really strong mind, and obviously some major talent as well. But all his success is happening for a reason. He's just a high energy guy that doesn't matter, anything, doesn't care about his personal stats. He just wants the team to win, right? And he's a real leader. He loves the WWE. I think he has his whole life, and he's somehow just become synonymous with it. And he's been on some of their programming, and we got more coming for sure. But he's a hardcore fan. He's not like checking in on WrestleMania. It's a 4-weekend event for him, and I love him for it. And we look forward to doing more, with George and the WWE. What we're doing now with the WWE actually is helping them cultivate their talent and their brand deals. So the WWE, as everyone knows, is an incredible entertainment property. And their superstars have incredible social reach and engagement that, frankly, as much as I love the other sports, blows away the numbers of any NFL player. The 19th most followed WWE player has what Odell Beckham has. It's unbelievable. Their fan base is incredibly ardent, incredibly engaging. George is the prime example of that. The fanatical and the engagement that they get, and they also can create content as well as anyone else. So it's really a turnkey model. We're helping them cultivate their talent and sell and create brand partnerships for them, same way we do with our athletes. And it's been great.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited to see, what you do as an agency and how you work with the superstars at WWE in the future. I mean, it's going to be exciting to see it, it's unreal. So when you talk about brand deals, I mean, has there been one deal, like whether it's in your career or what you think is kind of the best deal that's ever been done?
Yeah, well, I'll give you one of each. The best deal I think's ever been done, and then the best deal, one of my favorite deals that we've done recently. Maybe I'll list a few, but I think the best brand deal is probably the John Madden football game deal. I don't know if anything could ever match that. Maybe Michael Jordan brand, but that's more of an ownership thing now. But that game is bigger than, I don't want to say bigger than John, but it really is something that I don't think he even thought, or Sandy when they put the deal together, or EA Sports ever thought would become what it is. So to me, because of the length and probably the creativity and the amount of money that he's probably made over time, and the amount of people that they've reached because of eSports has blown up so much, I just don't know if there's another deal that could be compared to that. I'm sure that's a great debate. maybe there's something that, that I'm not thinking about, but that would be one of my favorite.
That's a tremendous deal. I mean, for Sandy Montag, and it's the gift that just keeps giving.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
It's remarkable. So I would say that. I'm sure there's others that are similar. Three kind of come to my mind. I like the new deal, something that someone hasn't done. The players like that too. Years ago it was, and this was pre-Rubicon, but it was the Reggie Bush Red Bull deal that Brandon Swible, my partner, did. Here you go, shameless plug.
Yeah.
And I'm a sugar-free guy, and that was the first time Red Bull had done a team sport player. This year, George Kittle became the first NFL active player ever to do a Bud Light deal and be featured with an NFL beer sponsor. And what's even cooler is that we shot that during the pandemic from home. His sister, his dad, his wife handled makeup and production, and it was Bud Light, their very talented agency, produced it essentially remotely. So that aired during the draft this year, and he's their first national spokesperson. And frankly, I don't think there's a better fit for a brand than George Kittle and Bud Light, right? He loves it. They love it, and hopefully we have a lot more good things to come. I would say a good local deal is the Marcus Lattimore Select Health deal. That's one of my favorites. Marcus was a guy that came out of South Carolina, was going to be a top 10 pick, and blew out his knee 2013, one of the most horrific college injuries you'll ever watch. Was drafted, but in the fourth round and never made it. But he has retained this deal with Select Health of South Carolina with this program, First Choice Fit. He was a public health major, and it's a community-based deal that he still retains now, which is a true testament to his character and everything that he does within that community. And even while he's maintained a coaching for Will Muschamp at South Carolina. So that was a really special deal that he has and has maintained for 6+ years. That's almost 7 years now, doing all sorts of youth camps and campaigns, encouraging kids from low economic families and areas to just honestly get wellness checks. So it's Marcus is a great guy. He's a true testament to the kind of clients that we want to have. And even though he's career didn't take off as a pro, we still work with him, and he still helps us, and we still help him.
That's tremendous. That's tremendous. Well, we're going to kind of heading to our sort of last segment of the 76 Capital Leadership Series, and this segment it's going to be hopefully a really exciting segment. We're calling it our fast pitch segment, which is this week is being brought to you by Diamond Kinetics. Diamond Kinetics is the baseball and softball technology company out there. So if you're a young person and you want one of these softballs right here, there's actually technology inside of this ball. And it's pretty amazing to see that you can, when you throw this thing and you're able to see the velocity and the spin rate. This is a softball, obviously, with the baseball back here as well, but really amazing to see what you're able to do with that company. They're also doing some really special things around Father's Day. So there's a Father's Day challenge coming up. So go to diamondkinetics.com to learn more about that and all the great things that they're doing in the baseball and softball industries. So with this fast pitch, a couple questions real quickly for Dave as we wrap up our 76 Capital Leadership Series tonight. When you think about this idea of, what would you say so far in your career has been the number one thing that you've been able to do, or the proudest moment that you've had as being a sports agent?
It's tricky. I mean, I don't know if I have one moment. I mean, if I had to give one moment personally, it would be, starting my own company. But I don't know if that is the moment where you get the feeling. What's special about what we do is, I grew up a sports fan, and I'll be honest, I'm less of a fan now than I was when I was a kid. But that doesn't mean I appreciate it any less. So there's often moments where, you become a little jaded with the access you have and spending time with people that are celebrities, quote unquote, and that's great and all. But it's really more about the effort you put in, and then like anything else, the result. So whether it's working on a week-long golf tournament, and at the end of the golf tournament, early on in my career, you're just so tired and that exhausted feeling, but it's over and we made it to the other end, that moment, right? Which got me into the business, that without that tournament, I never get in. Or when your client wins, MVP or player of the year or the Super Bowl, and you see their joy and they give you that thank you, that's all you want. Yeah, we're going to make money together and that's great and build your brand and all that. But the thank yous, the gratitudes are like those moments. So I have a handful, and I've been lucky. I've had several players win the Super Bowl, from a variety of players win the Super Bowl and Heisman's and stuff like that. So you count those blessings. You hope they come back, and you're also going to have times where they lose, and you have George Kittle and Emmanuel Sanders on the same team, and they lose. So you never know what's going to happen, but the proudest moments, I would say, are really the ones that really come through the clients.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much happening in across the whole sports industry right now as sports are coming back, and there's the deals, and there's so many questions. But I think one of the interesting things that we try to touch on here on our 76 Capital Leadership Series is what it really means to be a leader. What is it, who are some of the people in your life? I'd love to hear from you. Who are some people in your life that have been leaders that you've looked up to in over your career?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I'm a big believer in leaders, and some people lead by, example, and some people lead by what they say and what they do. Without sounding too cliche, my father, in sales, leader of our family, leader of his company, a high integrity guy. So without a doubt, he's the first person that comes to mind. Obviously as a mentor as well. I watched my four bosses for the first 13 years of my career, and watched them lead. And sometimes you learn what to do. And as you also learn what not to do. And you watch other people's mistakes. We're all going to make mistakes. So watching them grow and make decisions has certainly helped me. And last person I'd probably say is Wayne Kimmel. Perfect example of someone that I can learn a lot from, and is a great leader. Not kidding, Wayne. A great leader within our industry.
Well, I appreciate that, Dave, and I've learned a lot from you and all your partners about the whole sports industry, and appreciate everything that we've been able to do together. And what I'm most excited about is what we're going to do in the future. Think about how we really start to change the game in sports, because sports is the greatest industry that's out there. It's also going to be, as we both know, that industry that's going to grow more than any other industry over the next decade.
Yeah.
It's incredible from a media perspective, from a tech perspective, from the sports betting world, which is now, as we talked about earlier in the show, in the news section of, would you ever think that you would have a FanDuel work with a sports betting company work with an NFL team? I mean, it's unbelievable.
We're all for it, and it's been great for us as these categories like beer and betting and CBD and whatever have opened up. We're all for it. It creates more, opportunity and elements for creativity to come into it. And, we're grateful to have the partnership with 76 Capital and to get a peek of what you guys get to see on a daily basis is a real differentiator for us as you guys grow at such a fast speed.
Well, I think, one of the things I'd love to wrap up with is, we're both, all of us right now are going through this time. We probably wouldn't be doing these interviews from our homes, but we're in the middle of this unbelievably terrible pandemic. Many of us have friends and others that we've known who've had this terrible, disease. Plus the fact now, this terrible murder that occurred in Minneapolis and all the other things that are happening across the country right now. And as we both care, about this world, wanting to make this world a better place, wanting to work with others and trying to help and make this world a better place, do you believe that athletes themselves have, because they have such large platforms, because they're so involved, do they have a responsibility during these times? How do you feel about that?
The responsibility is a tough thing. I think, like anything else in life, you need to follow your heart. And if you feel, and I've told several clients this, if you feel you want to be active and you want to, be a voice and leverage your platform, I'm with you 100%. You got to do what feels right within your heart. I think, pre-pandemic and even, the George Floyd and all these protests, sometimes being and there's lots of athletes that have been quoted, sometimes being outspoken and being political or being cause related or really active in the social world, sometimes that can hurt your marketing portfolio. And Malcolm Jenkins, who's a great guy, super smart guy, super talented guy, will probably end up on television or doing whatever he wants post-career. He said himself that post Super Bowl, he didn't pick up a certain amount of endorsement deals, but he was fine with that because he believes in the cause. So he's fine sacrificing that. So it's not about business. This is way bigger than business, right? I think at this point, this is about people and humanity. Do I think there's a responsibility? If you feel there is, then do it. I think that everyone, this time is giving people opportunity to look inward. And if you do look inward and you feel that there's a responsibility, then do it. And I think that if you have the platform and you can affect one person's life, then do it. I think I can serve as a bridge, to people. And I think we all can in different circles and different worlds. We all touch different people. So, I support all my clients, regardless of where they come from, if they want to, and regardless of the cause. If they're not hurting anyone, or breaking the law, then I'm for it.
Well, it's tremendous advice, and I'm sure that all your clients, whether it's, you talked about DeMarco Murray, Emmanuel Sanders, Cole Beasley, the list goes on of all the great individuals that you work with. They're really good people. It's been great getting a chance to spend time with all of them. Eric Ebron over your shoulder again. I mean, it's awesome that you're able to do what you do. Thank you for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it. It's been great having you and hearing the whole, your story and Rubicon's story and what you do for your clients and how you help them and quite frankly, help them make their lives better. And then also, give them the kind of advice that we just talked about on the types of issues that are coming out in the world today. So that's really
it. I think most people don't realize that these guys are people too, and they have families. And just because you make a lot of money and play a sport for a living doesn't mean you don't have those feelings and stuff, right? So it's all natural. And I think it's a good thing that's happening in this world for people to be heard. Hopefully it fosters change and lasting change. But this was really great, Wayne. I'm grateful that you invited me on, and thanks for putting this together, and good luck with it. Hopefully my content helps boost your ratings.
Well, I think it helped out a lot. So thank you so much. Before we wrap up, just want to quickly remind our viewers tonight on the 76 Capital Leadership Series. You can follow us on 76 Capital on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, as well as our YouTube channel. You can find all our shows. And our next show is Sunday night. And as Dave mentioned earlier, Sunday night is Father's Day. And Dave talked about his father and the influence that his fathers had on him. We're going to talk about our fathers on Sunday night. I will have my partner, John Powell, Chad Stender, as well as Mike Schreiber. The four of us as partners at 76 Capital, we're going to talk about how our fathers influenced our lives and our careers. And we're really excited about all the, those types of stories and lessons that we've learned that hopefully we're able to instill upon not only our children, but our CEOs, our partners, and others, and just do the right thing. Because as we always say at 76 Capital, we're all about working with the right kinds of people who are really passionate about what they do, who are smart, who are nice, and just want to truly change the world and do amazing things. And that's why we work with guys like Dave and his team at Rubicon, who are truly changing the world at Rubicon Talent, and working with the really great athletes and just so many incredible things, as well as we talked about the WWE. We talked about, the fact that they work with not only just professional football players, but they also work with Olympians and other broadcasters and celebrity chefs. So again, Dave, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
Everyone have a great night out there.
Take care.
Take care.